Hello again, welcome to Millbarn Course Fishery, which is in Great Wakering, near Southend-on-Sea. We fished here a couple of years ago and we did a video called Back to Basics. We're now going to do another video called Back to Basics 2. And I'm going to go through it and show you the different things with the rods and the reels. What I'm going to show you today is that a lot of people, they fish with such heavy line and the wrong rods for their sort of fishing, and they buy these sets with these reels with this line on, and the line comes off all in great big loops. And what I try to say to people is that, don't use that line, use it as a backing and buy some line and put on top of it, because it's not really any good, the line. It's sort of like £15 breaking strain, which is what you don't really want. And also what they do, they buy the wrong rods, which have, they use a great big ledger rods with great big bombs and everything else, and it's completely unnecessary over this particular lake anyway, where this is a quiver tip rod, where as you can see, that is, the rods what a lot of people are using are quite big massive things, as thick as the butt on the end of this rod. If they put heavy line on this particular rod, what would happen is that the rod was snapping off before the line did. So, what the idea of it is that the line works with the rod, and why people keep buying heavier line, because they use such heavy rods, and they might be using £4 or £5 breaking strain line. Because they're using a heavy rod, then the line sort of snaps just like cotton. They think, I've got to get heavier line. It's not that, it's because the rod and the line work together. So they've got to, because that tip acts as a shock absorber, very similar to pole fishermen. When they use elastic in their poles, they're catching like £10-15 carp on maybe £4 or £5 breaking strain line, but it's because the elastic takes the shock. And it's the same when you're fishing with a rod, the rod takes the shock. If I was using a stiff rod and I was using only £5 line, which is what this is, if I went like that, on a stiff rod, the rod would snap. But on this one, as you can see, the tip is soft. So that is the basic mistake that so many people do. They use too heavy a line for the rods because they've got the wrong rods in the first place. They buy the right rod, they can use the lighter line, which is so much easier, as you can see, to fish with. It don't come off in loops, and they'll have a better day's fishing. Now this is what we call a quiver tip rod, and all I've done is set up a straightforward bomb on this. Last time we did it, I showed you how to do the method feeder. On this one, all I've done is just a bomb, and it's so simple. All I've done is got a clip swivel through there, through a bead, tied to another swivel, and then a piece of line from the swivel to the hook. And the idea of a clip swivel is that you can change the bomb, whenever you want, if you want to use an heavier one or a lighter one. So many people use all these different rigs where the more stuff you got there, the more tangles you're going to get. With this never tangled in a million years, and it's so simple. Because you're not allowed fixed leads on here anyway. As you can see, when the fish pulls, the line just runs like so. So straightforward, on that. And as I say, last time I'll either go fishing with that later on, and we'll see what we can get with it. I'm using a Preston reel, which doesn't come with line. And I always buy a Maxima line, which I find is the best line to use. And also with the better reels is that the line, the clutch works properly. On these reels, these cheaper reels you get, nothing works on them. It's sort of jagged, it don't smooth, like, look how smooth that is when you get a fish on, And with them other reels, they're not worth having. The old saying is that, and the same as the rod, you can play snooker with a broom handle, but you won't be any good unless you've got the right stuff. And this is what so many fishermen do wrong. When they don't catch nothing, and then they pack up fishing. And I want, obviously, people to carry on fishing, but they buy the wrong gear. Now, as I was saying, here I've got a match rod, not much thicker than what my quiver tip rod is. But you can see, the size, how light it is. Again, a lot of rods that people use when they fish is sometimes nearly as thick as this butt, which is absolutely ridiculous, because that's why they keep putting heavy line on, as I say. And with this, it acts as a shock absorber. And what I've got here, I've got the waggler set up, and I've also used today, which is quite simple to do, I've used a hair rig which you can buy on these, and I'm using it also on the quiver tip. You can buy these hair rigs already done for you, and I'll show you here when they're in this box here. Right, you buy the packet and it's actually got the little piece of plastic on the bottom where you get your baiting needle, which you buy, and all you do is you can buy pellets already with the holes already in, or you can drill them yourself with a little drill, and then you just put the baiting needle through the thing on the hook there where it just clips in, pushes it in, and you push it through. If I had it, you then push it through like so, pull it out, and there it is on the end of your hook. So simple, you know. So many people, oh, well, I don't know what they do sometimes when I see what they do, but it's so simple, and the job's done, and then you're ready to fish. And then I've got to throw a piece of bait over the top of it, just some hemp, or it can be anything because there's so many fish here. Here we go. So a lot of them will be line bites at the moment. You wait until it really, because there's a lot of fish down there, so you wait until the fling goes all together. Ah, here we go. Can you hear the clutch pulling in like it did on that other fish? This one's a bit better. See, on them cheaper reels it don't do that, they just jagger along. This is nice and smooth. And you see the bend in the rods there. A lot of rods that people use now, they've got a fish on this size. I think it's only about 4 or 5 pound, but their rod would hardly bend. Oh. And there you go, a nice carp. As I say, about 4 or 5, no, it's about 5 pound I suppose. And look, see, just on the bait still there. There you go. Well, I've now got the quiver tip rod, and I'm now going to do the same thing. I'm going to use a piece of sweet corn on this, using a little ounce bomb on that clip swivel that I showed you earlier on. Which way should I put it? I'm just going to put it down here in the edge. As you can see, the action in the rods, what I was on about, and the clutch going. Not too big a carp, but still a nice fish. Them big rods are alright when you're catching 40 pound carp or 50 pound carp, but when the average waters here, when you're only catching 4 or 5 pounders, or up to 15 and 20, you don't need them big rods. Oh, well, there you go. You've seen a few fish caught at the way I've been fishing with these lighter lines and lighter rods. Don't forget, the line always works with the rod, so you use heavy line. You need a heavy carp rod if you're on 10 pound line, but if you use lighter line, then you can use these lighter rods and you can still get the bigger fish in. Not that I've had really big today, I think about 5 or 6 pound, but I can get them in if I'd hook one today, but unfortunately they're not showing. But I've had a few nice fish, as you see. Right, thanks very much, and hope to see you again soon.